Hello students, welcome to Sosin IAS Academy. My name is Srikanth, History Optional Faculty in Sosin IAS Academy. Today, this purpose of this session is to give a idea regarding the history optional, a kind of orientation session discussing about the history optional. Okay, so point here is I want to give you in such a way that giving such a PPTs and not in a regular manner, by the two-way traffic of knowledge, I will want to provide you what actually the history optional and what are the myths generally students have and what are the advantages of history optional taking in order to crack the UPSC. That is what the main intention purpose of this orientation session. So history optional mainly thinks that the people, especially the aspirants of the UPSC, think that they have certain kind of myths. They have certain kind of myths. So as I have the teaching experience more than, it's more than 4 years. So when I come across, when I encounter some students, when I ask them what is the main reason why the history optional not chosen. Of course, the students who are the aspirants who are actually taking the history option, they have their own reasons. So they realized the importance of history. They realized the various kind of factors like interest, like finding the faculty, finding the notes, or they are discovering the new areas in the GS as well while preparing the history option. So that is what their kind of, their importance for choosing the history option. But what is the point, a kind of myths generally the UPSC aspirants have with respect to the history option? Why they don't choose history optional according to them is, first one, majorly, actually the students majorly talks about it is a vast syllabus. Okay, much syllabus, I can say that. Much syllabus. Many students told me that why you are not choosing history optional instead of choosing that. Some people say that they are choosing anthropology. Some students say that they are choosing sociology. One of the reasons they are giving that it is a short syllabus when compared to other optionals, especially with history. So students saying that history optional is consisting about the vast syllabus. This is the major answer I got through many of the aspirants. Okay, according to them, the history optional syllabus is very vast when compared to the other optional syllabus. Next one, second one is more about memory. More about memory. Okay, is it available, right? Okay, much syllabus. Next one, it is more about memory. The second reason many aspirants given to me that it is more about memory oriented. I mean to say remembering the dynasties, remembering the years, remembering the kings' names and all. So according to them, for not choosing history optional, their second reason is it is more about the memory rather than the analysis, rather than the strategy, analysis, contextual clarity, conceptual clarity, like that. So they think that history optional is more about memory, regarding the remembering the timeline, remembering the chronology, more about the kings, battles, even the years. So that's what they think. So generally these people think that ancient, medieval, modern, post-independence world history, all these things, the vast is first their grievances is, first their excuse is regarding the vast syllabus, second excuse is all about the memory. So everything related to the ancient Indian history, medieval Indian history, modern Indian history, post-independence world history, everything they has to remember according to them, regarding the year, regarding the foundation. For example, even to the world history, when the French Revolution took place, what are the personalities, in which year it is started, who are actually contributed. So everything they think that it is all about the memory regarding dynasties, kings, names, more about the years. So which they found very difficult. This is what the second reason what they given. Next, third reason is less scoring. Less scoring. The third reason many aspirants given to me that for not choosing history optional is the history optional is less scoring according to them. And what they actually think is, even though we studied very hard, I mean to say, for example, okay, overcoming the first excuse, that is okay, it is vast syllabus, still we are taken. Second one, more about with the memory, I mean to say regarding the names, dynasties, kings names and years, still they are taken. Even though given their best attempt, even though they are giving their best in the exams, what according to them is they are not getting the good score. Even they are giving the examples regarding the toppers, I mean to say in the first 100, I mean to say some people say that the history optional students are not scoring much score as I mean to say as that of other optional students like anthropology, sociology. So according to them it is less scoring. And the fourth one which they are actually giving is, I mean to say, it is much syllabus, more about memory and less scoring. And the last one they are giving is the map based question difficulty. Map based question difficulty. So point here is what? In the history optional, obviously it is for the history optional is for the 500 marks. The history optional is for the 500 marks. Within the 500 marks, just like the other option of the UPSC, paper 1, next one is paper 2. So paper 1, paper 2. And within the paper 1, I mean to say it is consisting about the 4 questions. 4 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these 4 questions are from the ancient. Okay, I am giving a brief view for the history optional papers. And the next one is, the second paper is medieval. I mean to say, within the first paper, 4 questions from the ancient and 4 questions from the medieval. Within that, there are 4 questions. First question is short notes question, or the other notes question. In the same manner, this is modern, consisting about 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next one is world history. 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. In the history first paper of the optional, you will completely have the 8 questions with the 2 sections. First section is deals with the ancient Indian history. Second section deals with the medieval Indian history. In the paper 2, there are also 8 questions. First 4 questions from the section 1 of the medieval Indian, I mean to say modern Indian history. Okay, in the paper 2, totally 8 questions. Within the 8 questions, first 4 questions consisting about the section 1, which deals with the modern Indian history. And the second section also consisting about the 4 questions, which deals with the world history. So from world history 4 questions, modern Indian history 4 questions for paper 2. For paper 1, ancient 4 questions, medieval 4 questions. Out of all, in the paper 1 you have to attempt completely 5 questions. Remaining questions are choice. In the paper 1, out of the ancient 4 questions, medieval 4 questions, you have to attempt 5 questions. In this paper 2, you have to completely attempt 5 questions. Definitely must. Paper 1, 5 questions. Paper 2, 5 questions. Remaining questions are optional. I mean to say choice. Okay? Remaining questions are out of the 8 questions, you have to attempt the 5 questions, and the remaining questions are the choice. So point here is, in the ancient, the first question is the map based question. The first question is map based question. So this map based question, many people think that actually this is the mandatory question. In every optional, in the every optional consisting about the paper 1 and paper 2, and in the paper 1 every optional consisting about the section 1 and section 2. Even in the other option as well as there are paper 2 section 1 and section 2. In the section 1, first question is mandatory, compulsory. It is compulsory. In the same manner, section 2 in the paper 1 as well, the first question is compulsory. In the same manner, in the paper 2 as well, in the paper 2 as well, in the first section, which included with the modern Indian history, the first question is compulsory. In the world history as well, in the which consisting about the section 2, the first question is compulsory. So point here is, this is map based question. This includes the short notes. I mean to say section 2 medieval Indian history deals with the short notes. And in the same manner, paper 2 first question compulsory, which concerned about deals with the modern history. This is the short notes based question. And in the section 2 world history, first question is compulsory, which included with the short notes question. But much people actually, I am discussing about what are the obstacles, what are the actually concerns for the aspirants for not choosing history option. The last reason they are given is map based question difficulty. Yes, in the history optional, in the paper 1, in the section 1, the first mandatory question included with the map based question. I mean to say, in the map based question what? The examiner will give the India map. The examiner will give the Indian subcontinent map. In the sidewards, he will give the India map included with a kind of dots. And the dots are consisting about, and in the meanwhile what? 1, 2, 3, 4 given. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, it deals with a Paleolithic site, a Mesolithic site, a Neolithic site, a Chalcolithic site, a Megalithic site, a very popular Indus Valley civilization site, a very popular Vedic civilization site, a place where Buddha got enlightenment. This is what he will give. And he even give, I mean to say, he even give the dot for this. And point is what? He will give it is a Paleolithic site. So one number is also given here. One number given in the map along with the dot. In the side he will give 1 is a Paleolithic site. Now you have to identify the dot. And you have to identify the dot. You have to identify that site, and you have to give very, very important at least 3 details. This is what actually many people given that this map based question for them it is difficulty. Because what? This is mandatory question and it included with the maps. You have to identify the site. Okay, almost he will give 10 sites and this is mandatory question. So much people think that how many maps we should, how many sites you have to remember. I mean to say how many Paleolithic sites you have to remember, how many Mesolithic, Neolithic, Chalcolithic, Megalithic. In such a manner up to ancient medieval, how many sites you have to remember, and you have to exactly point out the site, and you have to give very, very important 3 important points you have to include. So this is what actually the concerns with respect to the aspirants for not choosing the history optional. For not choosing the history optional. But now I will deal with why these are not at all matter for not choosing the history option. I will say that these are all not at all matter. They think that it is the matter for not choosing history option. I seriously say this is a myth. You think that it is a vast syllabus, vast syllabus, but I can say no, not at all. UPSC civil services exam syllabus itself is the vast. But I can say for anthropology, sociology, yes, I agree. Comparatively for the history optional, the anthropology, sociology for some other optional, it is a kind of less syllabus. I agree. But the point here is, don't forget that the history syllabus is actually dealing with all kinds of in detailed manner. He will give the syllabus everything in detail, and that is the reason it will appear for you in a vast syllabus. Okay. For example, you take other optional, you take PSIR, you take geography, you take even anthropology, he will give that social factors, economic factor, cultural factors. But here he will give what are the social factors of the Akbar in a lengthy way, in a detailed way, I can say that. Simply speaking, in a detailed way, the history optional syllabus will consist. And that is the reason as it is given in a detailed manner, you think that it is very vast syllabus. Okay. So that is not at all considering the reason. Next thing is I can say that you are thinking that the much syllabus, I will tell you, of course, I'm now using it now first time and I will use this reason once again because it is relevance. First one is every UPSC aspirant covering the entire history like a history option student. Without knowing it, every UPSC aspirant study history like a history optional subject. Why you can say such a statement, sir? If you ask me, I will tell you. For example, you take, without knowing it, every UPSC aspirant studying history in a history optional subject way. How? For example, you take, in the general studies, you have to study about the entire ancient Indian history, including the art and culture. For the medieval, entire medieval, including the art and culture. Complete modern, post-independence, world history. Then what is the syllabus remained for the optional? The same kind of syllabus. But you have to study in detail. Even for the general studies as well, you have to study in detail. No exception for it. For example, you take ancient, medieval, modern, complete you have to study, including the art and culture for GS. Same for the history optional. Post-independence, there for the GS. Same for the history optional. You take world history. Of course, it is not in there. Of course, it is not there in the prelims, but it is there in mains, right? The mains world history consists about all syllabus which is actually included in the history option. So no difference between the GS history syllabus with the history optional syllabus. And that is the reason you don't consider it is a vast syllabus at all. But one thing difference is somewhat detailed discussion needed here in the history optional. And one more thing I have to add here, you have to understand the historiography. That means what? Particularly with the historian's point of view. I mean to say, the nationalist historians, the Marxist historians, the subaltern approach historians, their perspective view must be added here. Whereas in the GS it is not required. But coming to the content is same for the optional as well as the GS. Everything you study, that is I said, every UPSC aspirant without knowing it, they will study the history optional. They will study the ancient detailed way, medieval detail, modern detail, post-independent detail, world history, everything detail. In the history optional as well it is same. Okay, so don't think that it is vast. And next thing is, next one. So don't give me the excuse that it is vast syllabus. No, you are studying the complete syllabus in the GS. If you take in just few changes and few adaptations, that is somewhat detailed discussions, somewhat more with the historiography. You are completing with the history option, that's it. Next thing is, coming to the more about the memory. No, history is, I mean to say, UPSC least concerned about the memory. Yes, I agree. When compared to the other technical subjects, I mean to say, when compared to the other art subject, history subject is somewhat deals with, somewhat, not I am saying completely, somewhat deals we have to remember about the facts. Yes, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I agree with this. Somewhat you have to more thorough about the factual information. Based upon the factual information, you have to deduce the analysis. You have to more about the analysis. But don't forget that it is also science. What kind of science? Social science. You have to deal with the analysis, interpretation, contextual clarity. Conceptual clarity is also required in this. Okay, so don't forget that it is not only about the memory. Every subject must be also deals with some memory. Every subject you take, irrespective of anthropology, sociology, you take any subject, definitely some facts you have to remember. Based upon the facts, every subject is actually built. You should not deny the fact. I seriously say it is undisputed fact, absolute fact it is. Every subject consisting about somewhat factual information. Based upon the factual information only, the entire subject will be actually stand. But history subject will stand somewhat more in the factual information when compared to other subjects. Okay, so it is not about the memory. And more about UPSC is least concerned about the dynastic politics. Remembering the king names, remembering the year, no. For example, if you are not remembering about the, for example, 1757 Battle of Plaza, if you don't remember, even you can write about the 18th century AD. Okay, so some kind of years, yes, you have to remember, but it is not about the complete years. If you think that history is more about memory, so not at all. Okay, only memory based people will be selected. No, UPSC not given such a priority for the memory. It is all about how you are understanding the subject. What is the analysis you did? how much you are understood about the concept of the particular subject. That is what UPSC majorly concerned about. Okay, so even though it is history, discussing about the facts, but the point here is the factual information is not complete history. It is almost 20%, 30% about the facts, especially with the context only, concept only, but not much about the memories, kings' names. I mean to say the dynasty names, kings' names, years. No, it is not at all required. Only certain kinds of years you have to remember where we will be provided in the class, only that kind of. Strictly speaking, in the entire syllabus of history, almost you have to remember about, I think, 80 or 90 years. Other than that, it's not at all required. Okay, it is your perception that it is more about remembering about the years, names, battles, kings' names and all. Okay, it is not at all the priority for the UPSC, especially for the optional. It is more about the analysis based. It is more about the conceptual based. It is more about the contextual based. More about the timeline, chronology. Okay, in a systematic manner, in an organized manner. That is what it is required. Okay, so this is what at all not. And next thing is less scoring. No, you think that it is less scoring. Okay, I can say that, I mean, 2021 All India ranker 1, the Shruti Sharma, she is the All India one, All India rank first one. She got first All India rank. Shruti Sharma with history option only. With the history option in 2021, the history optional student got the All India rank 1. Shruti Sharma with history option only. And recently I can say, okay, it is all about 2021. What about now? Yes, I can say in 2024 as well. I mean to say, Abudija Gupta, she got 303 marks in history optional. She got 303 marks in history optional in 2024, guys. In 2024, I am talking about. She scored 303 marks in 2024 history optional. And she got, I think 42nd rank. I think she got All India rank 42nd. She got All India rank 42nd rank. Okay, so I disagree with this. Less scoring, even many students from engineering background, from science background, taking the history optional, and they are scoring more than 280. More than 280 is very, very decent score. I can say that if you are taking the history optional, even though you are not getting the better score, but I will make sure that you will not get the very less score. Okay, so that is what. No, I disagree with this. Less scoring and all. If you see that, even I can give you one more fact. If you see the last 8 years, if you see the last 8 years of UPSC, I mean to say UPSC, every year it will provide the annual calendar. If I am not wrong, you will check the annual calendar of the UPSC for the last 8 years. The highest optional written by in the mains are PSIR, Political Science and International Relations. This optional is actually the highest appeared optional students in the mains of UPSC Civil Services exam. And after that, next one is geography. Geography, yes. You think that it is not vast syllabus. PSR itself is a vast syllabus. PSR also deals with the factual information. Next thing is geography itself is a vast syllabus. And more about also deals with the memory based. Next, third one is anthropology. And the fourth one is sociology. And the next position is history, guys. Yes, not about the regional language. The highest students appeared for the UPSC Mains Civil Services exam with the option is highest one is PSR, Political Science and International Relations. Next one is geography. Next one is anthropology. Fourth one is sociology, and the fifth one is history. Last 8 years I am talking about. So don't give me, I mean to say, if you think that if it is very vast syllabus, it is very oriented and it is less scoring, then that is not the strength for the history. When compared to all other subject, when compared to the all other their respected professional based subject, fifth history stands as fifth. Okay, this is what, if you are not, if I am not wrong, you can cross check also. Okay, first many students are actually, major students are from PSR, and next one is from geography, next one is from anthropology, and the next one is from the sociology, and the next one is history. In the entire almost how many history optional, there are many. Within that history optional, within that optional, the history ranks at fifth. This is what the decreasing order. So you cannot say they are less scoring. You think that last, I mean to say, you are always considered the first 10 rankers, first 5 rankers. Within the first 5 rankers, if there is no history optional student, you think that history is less scoring. And that is the reason people are not actually taking about the history optional. And history, for example, if you are considering about the first 10 rankers, if in the first 10 rankers, if there is no history option student, you think that history option is not scoring. That is the reason nobody coming in the first 10 rankers of the UPSC. So that's what, don't take your own kind of decisions by just but just examining the only 10% of the actually the entire rankers of the UPSC. Okay, so that's what. But remaining students, I said there is students who scored more than 300 marks in the history option. Okay, so I also disagree with the history is less scoring. Okay, I don't agree with this. Next thing is map based question. Strictly speaking, map based question is very weightage based question. Because if you have enough accuracy, you will get the 20 out of the 20 marks. 20 out of the 20 marks. Wow! I will provide you in the class when you are, I mean to say, if you are particularly, precisely, crispily in the entire ancient, medieval, modern, if you are going through the map based question, if I will give you 82 complete, clear about the sites, which is mandatory for the UPSC map based question in the history option, that 80 sites are more than enough. But this map based question is what? Very maintaining the accuracy. A great weightage. You are seeing it in a negative way. How many sites I should remember? If I mark that site in a wrong way, obviously that complete 20 marks, which is mandatory, will be gone. But I can say in a different way, in other side of the coin, this is what, if I guess a correct kind of site, obviously I will get the complete 20 marks. Complete marks I will get it. Here there is no need of about the verbal language, no need to about the detailed discussion. Just he will give you what? He will give you what? He will give you the map. I mean to say, he will give you the map. Here he will provide you the Paleolithic Gujarat. I mean to say, this is what? He will provide you a Paleolithic site. You have to particular about this site. You have to very much sure about this site. Just writing about the Paleolithic site means what? For example, Bhimbetka. Bhimbetka, writing about just 3 important points. Bhimbetka, it is the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is given in the year 2003, located in Madhya Pradesh. And Bhimbetka is very much known for the prehistoric rock paintings in India. And next thing is, it is first discovered by V.S. Vakankar in the year 1957. That's it. Whatever the thing, just 3 important points you have to mention. And you know what? Yeah, what you will get? There is no scope for the cutting of the marks. If you are surely, correctly, I mean to say, recognized the site and given 3 important points. Okay? If you are correctly, accurately, your site is recognized. Next thing is given 3 important points. Obviously, there is no chance to cut your marks. That is what the advantage of this map based question. You are thinking that how many maps I should remember, how many sites I should remember. That is what you are thinking. But in my point of view, if you think that other side of the coin, yes, this is what the scoring area. Just remembering the 80 sites and practicing that sites. And when the question is asked about the site, if you are recognized correctly, if your site is perfectly recognized and writing about the 3 important points, the complete weightage of that question is in your pockets. That is what the advantage of the map based question. So this is what the myths. This is what the myths the students have regarding the vast syllabus, regarding the, more about memory. Next thing is less scoring. Next thing is map based question. No, not at all required. Okay, so this is all about the myths only. Every optional consisting about the risk only, and the history optional advantages I will tell you. Advantages of history optional. Advantages of history optional. For example, you take history optional is very static. This is the greatest advantage. No other optional in the UPSC syllabus is optional having such an advantage. You take geography, you have to up to date. You have to if you take PSR, you take about anthropology, you take about sociology, you take any optional other than history, where there is so much dynamic topics will be added every year, and you have to thorough with the dynamic topics which are in the limelight, and you have to add it to the syllabus. So this is not there with the history. You don't expect Ashoka every year. You don't expect Ashoka or Akbar or Alauddin Khilji. They don't reborn again. You don't come across those people again. They gone. They provided the information. They given the very, very fruitful administration to the people. Now you have to cross section of it. You have to understand the subject. There is no dynamics. There is no kind of limelight of the subject. No current affairs related at all. Complete static. Complete static. Once you are finished with the history optional syllabus, it is done. No need to inclusion of the syllabus. If you take other optional, for example, PSIR, for example, you take anthropology, for example, you take sociology, you take geography, you take public administration, you take about any optional subject, there will be every year, every time you have to add at the current affairs, limelight things, dynamic things you have to add. You have to must thorough with the dynamics. But history optional is very safest subject. Once you are completed, it is done. And the next thing is what? You have to more thorough about answer writing. That is what the greatest advantage with the history. Next thing is, more questions are repeated. More questions were repeated. No other optional subject in the UPSC Civil Services Mains exam. The UPSC history optional questions are repeating in such a way that no other optional subject is actually repeated. For the last 20 years questions, if you are thorough enough, you no need to study about the subject as well. Mark my words. If you are thoroughly preparing the last 20 years of the history optional questions, you will finish the history optional in such a way that every question you will be answered. Out of the first paper, 8 questions, I told you right just now. In the first paper, out of the 8 questions, you have to given the 5 answers. In the paper 2, out of the 8 questions, you have to write 5 questions. Complete will be finished. Once you are thorough with the previous year questions, last 20 years, if you are thorough with the last 20 years questions, complete UPSC syllabus will be done. Seriously speaking, no need of taking coaching as well. I will tell you, as a history optional faculty, I am saying that if you are perfectly thorough with the last 20 years previous year questions with the model answers, the complete history optional subject will be done. Because the history optional subject questions are repeating in such a way that no other optional UPSC mains optional subject or questions were repeated in such a way. The history optional questions are repeating very much. There is so much frequency about the repeating of questions in the history optional. In other optional, no such kind of, because there is so much dynamics are adding, there is so much current things are adding to the subject. So the examiner is more concerned with the current related giving the questions in the other option. But in the history, there is no scope for the current thing, and that is the reason many questions were repeated. Next thing is, already you have to read complete history in GS. That is why I said, I will use this example once again I told, because I told you about this, because in the entire, I said just now, without knowing, every UPSC aspirant preparing the history in an optional way. Okay, without knowing it, every UPSC aspirant studying the history in an optional way. Why? Because in the GS, you have to study about the entire history. You have to study about the ancient, you have to study about the medieval, including art and culture. Ancient, complete ancient Indian history, including art and culture. Complete medieval Indian history, including art and culture. Complete modern history, including art and culture. Yes, modern India also consisting about the art and culture. Post-independent, complete. World history, complete. So you are already studying with the GS. Then what is the extra thing is there for the optional? Because almost, you believe me, 70% of the complete history you are already studied. Why I said 70% is remaining 30%, what you have to adapt the strategy with respect to the history optional is, with respect to the, I mean to say, what is the historiography regarding the, what is Marxist historians, what is the nationalist historians, what is the subaltern approach historian. Their point of view, you have to write the answer. That is what one thing you have to approach. Next thing is about the somewhat detailed discussions, arguments are there in the history option. And above this, apart from this, everything is same for the GS as well as for the history option. So point here is, in the GS, you have to study about the complete history. For the history optional, actually, you are giving somewhat more priority, somewhat detailed discussion. That's it. So this is what the advantage. If you are taking the history optional, it is nothing but you are also doing the complete task of GS history subject. This is what. And next thing is prelims. If you observe, you may not observe in this year, but with my experience I am saying you, many people who are actually selected the history optional, for them the prelims exam of the UPSC civil service exam is somewhat easy. Because there is 2-3 questions from the art and culture, they will get benefited. Every year you take almost in the prelims 15 to 20 questions are coming in the prelims. 15 to 20 questions coming in prelims from the only history subject. Minimum 15 questions. Minimum 15 questions. So 15 questions means what? How many marks? 30 marks, not a joke, students. Not a joke. So if you are already concerned with the history optional, it is very easy for you. Somewhat for the other people, you are in the edge, you are in the advantage, because the history questions are actually getting in the prelims of the UPSC civil service exam is almost 15 to 20 questions. You know that in the prelims exam of the UPSC civil services, every question carries 2 marks. So if you take, if it is the 15 question, it is nothing but how many marks? 30 marks. 30 marks is not a joke. So you will be somewhat edge, somewhat advantage when compared to other people. That is what the history optional advantage for cracking the prelims, because prelims is considered as very, very toughest when compared to the mains. Because almost you take 6 lakhs people, 7 lakhs people, of course 9 lakhs people are applying. Every year I mean to say at least 5 lakhs people are attempting. Within the 5 lakhs, how many people are selecting? 12,000, 13,000 within the prelims. Okay, within the prelims they are selecting, out of the 6 lakhs people they are selecting 12,000 people in the prelims. So it is very qualitative. I don't find any difference between the prelims and mains. Prelims is all about the qualitative, mains about the quantitative. Mains is all about the quantitative. And apart from that, it is objective, it is subjective. That means it is more included with the descriptive. It is consisting of the descriptive. So that is what the history optional subject advantage. Very, very helpful for the prelims to crack. And next thing is advantages in, I mean to say, essay and ethics advantage. Ethics and essay advantage. Many people don't know about it. You take every year, the essay questions are at least one question from the history. I mean to say what? They are applying with the quotes. They are applying with the quotes. You take any essay, if you are starting your essay with a very great popular quote, which included with the historians or which included with the greatest personalities, their words, their, I mean to say, their proverbs, it will give you a very, very, edge to the essay. Okay, so if you are, I mean to say, many include, I mean to say, anecdotes, stories, more importantly about their proverbs which they used, popular sentences, popular words about the greatest personalities, if you are using in the essay, it is very, very added advantage. Next thing is in the ethics. In the ethics also, many, I mean to say, in the ethics more, if you are using the anecdotes very much, obviously, if you exploit the history in such a way that using of anecdotes in ethics, it is a greater advantage for you. If you are very familiar with the history optional, if you take the some of the greatest anecdotes from the history optional, then you can apply it for the ethics. So this is what the advantages of taking the history optional. This is what the advantages with respect to the history optional. Okay, you will get the very static. Once you done with the history syllabus, it is done. No need of going through the dynamics topics, current affairs and all. Next thing is, how if you are, I mean to say, many questions in the history optional repeated only. If you are very familiar with the thorough with the last 20 years previous year questions of the history option, you done with the complete syllabus. Next thing is, you are already in the GS. You have to study the complete history syllabus: ancient, medieval, modern, post-independence Indian history, as well as world history, So complete history syllabus you have to study for the GS. The same thing you have to study for the history option with a greater detailed manner. That is the only difference. Next thing is very advantageous for the prelims, because almost 15 to 20 questions are coming from the prelims exam from the history subject. So each question carries 2 marks, you know well, in the prelims. So it is what? Almost minimum 30 marks advantage is there. Next thing is what? The history optional advantage is very much if you use it in very effective way and efficient way in the essay as well as in the ethics. So this is what the advantages of the, choosing the history optional. Choosing the history optional. Okay. So some people say, some people say history is boring. And for the, for the social media partners, for the social media containers, history is very, very, interesting for the arguments, for the debates. And for the UPSC optional students, for the UPSC students who are preparing for the history, it is very, very methodology based. Okay, for general people it is boring. Why it is boring? They think that it is more about the memory, dynastic politics, kings' names, battles, years and all. For the social media partners, for example, the people who are actually with the social media, they get the very interesting thing. They are getting the debates. They get the, ideology, more about the arguments and all. That is why they found very, very interesting. And for the UPSC students of the history, they found it is very, very methodology based. But I can say that it is very, very optional subject. You can score about 300 plus marks in history optional. In history optional. First I will say why the people is very less scoring below, less than 250 marks in history optional. Why the students are scoring less than 250 marks in history optional? First I will say that first one. Okay, they are basically taking the self-study plus or self-study or class materials. Only worrying with the content you write. Or you can say content nothing but the coaching. They will only depend upon the self-study. They don't introspect themselves. They don't introspect themselves what they are actually studying. Always worry with the self-study, completing the syllabus. They are in a hurry to finish the syllabus and all. But once they have to, they have to introspect themselves, what actually they are studying. Is it is reliance with the UPSC? Is it is perfect with the history option and all? Next thing is, they are more worried with the timeline and chronology. They are more with the timeline and chronology. First thing with the self-study, they are more by heart with the timeline, remembering the facts, more about the dates, more about the battles, and they are more concerned with the chronology. And next thing is more materials. Almost they read 7 to 8 books. They read with the more material. That is, almost they worry with the, they are dealing with the 7 to 8 books. And next thing is I can say 2000 plus page notes. 2000 plus page notes. And next thing is very less with PYQs. Okay, history optional is you have to be more with the thorough with the previous year questions of the UPSC. This is what, yes, they only concern with the self-study. No self-introspection at all. Whether they are doing in a perfect way, whether they are doing the correct thing or not, or they are in par with the standards of the UPSC history option. No, they don't self-check themselves. They are actually thinking that they are perfect and they will completely deep in that subject and they don't introspect themselves. Next thing is timeline and chronology. They think that history is all about remembering the facts, dates, names, dynasties. More about the chronology. This has happened, this has happened, this has happened. That is what. And next thing is, they worried with the 7 to 8 books they will take. Very, very vast books they will take. And they will get the confusion. Almost 7 to 8 books they will depend upon it. And next thing is, they prepare for the more than 2000 page notes. I will tell you one example. If you want to crack the UPSC, definitely you have to maintain very, very crispy, concise syllabus. Concise notes you have to maintain. That is what I can say success for the UPSC. Okay. And the last one is, yes, they're done with the PVQs, but when very, very less. Only 5 years questions, 6 years questions. They will just go through the previous year questions. Okay, they think that yes, we're done with the previous year questions and they will go with the exams and they will get the below 250 marks. Then what are the things you have to adapt in order to get the more than 300 plus marks? These are the things why the students will get the less than 250 marks in the history option. Now I will tell you what are the things you have to adapt in order to get the more than 200 plus marks, in order to get the 300 plus marks in the history option. First thing is, okay, first thing is content building. Content building. What is content building? About the conceptual clarity. And next thing, contextual clarity. About the content building, what is there? Okay, along with the timeline and chronology, yes, timeline and chronology required, but along with that, you have to more thorough with the concept, that is conceptual clarity as well as the contextual clarity is very much required, along with the historiographic view. Along with the historiographic view. Historiography means what? I told you, what is the addition you have to develop for the history option other than the GS syllabus? I mean to say, what are the opinions of the historians? Their view should also be, you have to put it on the paper. What is Marxist historian's opinion? What is the, I mean to say, nationalist historian's views? What is the subaltern approach historian's view? That is what you have to adapt. And next thing is, very, very important thing is last 20 years PYQs. Last 20 years PYQs you have to must thorough about it. Not about the sum of the PYQs, last 5 years, 6 years, no. If you are done with the last 20 years of the PYQs, you are done with the complete syllabus of the history option. Mark my words, I will say once again. It is very, very important for the history option. Even though if you are not needing about the teaching and all, if you are not depending upon the faculty, fair enough. But you have to must thorough with the last 20 years previous year questions. Next thing is what? Map based question. Special focus. Yes, the mandatory question, the map based question which I told you just now, in the paper 1 of the history optional, the first question is map based question. Many people think that okay, just like the GS study, they will go with the study, they will go with the many sites, and they think that okay, we are done with the sites, okay, I can get it. But the point is what accuracy is needed. You have to thorough with the map based question. You have to very thorough with the map based question. Only particular content will be. I told you, I will give you just 82 sites. If you are finishing with the 82 sites, the complete map based question of the history option will be done. Mark my words. That's what. Okay, so this is what map based question, you have to give a special focus on it. You have to give special focus on it. Next thing is answer writing practice. Answer writing practice. In a very, very quality along with balancing facts and arguments. Balancing facts and arguments. Many people think that what? They don't know about what is actually argument they give. The history option, they think that they remember about the facts and they will try to replicate the facts, omit the facts on the paper. No. You have to balance the facts as well as the arguments. Views you should also be given, particularly with the opinion based question. Particularly about the, opinion based question. Regarding the views, regarding the opinion, you have to must thorough with the balancing the facts as well as the arguments. You will get through only through the repeated answer writing practice. Then only your quality, refined information will be done. Replicate, omit on the paper. This is what. If you are practice in this manner, you will get the 300 plus marks, students. If you are done in this way, you will get only less than 250 marks. This is what the main difference for the students who are getting the less than 250 marks, for the students who are getting the more than 300 marks. They are very done with the 20 years of the previous year question paper. They don't know how to balance the facts as well as the arguments. And they are more focusing on the map based question, which is mandatory. And it is the first question which will give so much impression to the examiner while correcting the paper. Next thing is what? About the context, concept, more about the historiography. If you are keeping this, if you are keep these things in your mind, definitely you will get the more than 300 plus marks. So this is what about the history option, and these are the things which we are going to provide in our batch, which are going to study, which are going to start on the 18th November 2025. Okay, within the, from November 18th, we are going to start the history optional, and our special emphasis on the not detailed discussing about the syllabus, the required content which is useful for the UPSC history option, that only given, and including provided with the very quality content recorded videos, and more important thing, online batch only. This is online batch only. From the 18th November it is going to start, and very, very qualitative videos only provided, and very, very refined content PDFs. The material, refined material will be provided, and a special focus should be made on the map based question, and there will be given for every 2 days. We will give you a question and a model answer will be also provided. We will give you the task. After finishing 2 classes, 1 question will be given, and I will provide you the model answer, so that you have to provide the answer, you have to check yourself. Okay, and next thing is after 1 week, after covering the syllabus, every 1 week there is given the some questions, and that questions, and along with that questions, we will also provide the model answers. So self-writing that answers, you can cross-check the answers whether it is correct or not. And we will also provide the test series, after finishing the syllabus. So we will assure you that giving a quality content, quality videos as well as the quality material, it is our duty, along with the more focusing on the answer writing as well. Okay, so this is what we are going to provide you for the history optional. Okay, we take it in a very prestigious manner. Definitely I can assure you, providing the detailed content regarding the history option, which is very crucial for the UPSC history option. Next thing is about the material as well, and we will give you for every 2 days, we will give you the task regarding the questions, and for every 1 week we will provide you the questions along with the model answers. After finishing the syllabus as well, we will provide you the test series is also provided. Okay, so any grievances, any queries you had, you can ask it to the institutions. Okay, you can directly, if you are if you are not satisfied, the institution will also provide you the direct telephone link to the faculty as well. Okay, thank you. I hope you understand what is actually the what is the actually the value of the history option in order to crack the UPSC. Thank you, students.